You're watching CBC television, celebrating 50 years.
Hello, I'm Gordon Pinsent.
And I'm Leah Pinsent. Tonight, tuning in the 70s on CBC.
By the 70s, every home had a color TV, and boy, do we mean color. Remember the fashions? We spent the first half of the 70s recovering from the hippie gear of the 60s. Incredibly, we gave up tie-dye for plaid suits, platform shoes, and afros. And that's what the men were wearing. And then we ran smack into disco.
The 70s was also a time of social change, like shifting attitudes towards sexuality and a trend to activism. In Canada, we spent the decade asking ourselves big questions about national identity, both politically and culturally.
So what did we look like then? Well, here's Tuning in the 70s on CBC with Rick Mercer.
Ready, camera 2. Ready with background music. Cue music. Head over to logo. Ready with narration. Cue narrator.
A CBC color presentation.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Drums rapping out a beat to keep the people moving. Lights shooting through the room like rockets in a cloud.
The 1970s hit Canada like a ton of bricks.
The record plays so loud, they're drowning out the crowd. Look, every single soul is dancing with a stranger.
Baby, I won't let you forget I am here.
Tight, gonna hold you tight until we're out of danger.
It was the me decade, and Canada and the CBC got swept up in the turmoil of the times.
Dance in the old-fashioned way. Won't you stay in my arms?
When we left off, the country still had the afterglow of our 100th birthday. Our new Prime Minister was swimming in dazzling the media. At the CBC, the storm over canceling this hour his 7 days was passing over. Life was getting back to normal. Even without Don Messer fiddling every week. But that was all about to change, abruptly.
Good evening, I'm Peter Daniel in Montreal. It's been a day of negotiation and behind-the-scenes activity in the continuing effort to obtain the safe release of two men.
1970, the October crisis. In Montreal, James Cross, a British diplomat, and Pierre Laporte, the Quebec Minister of Labour and Immigration, are kidnapped by the FLQ, a radical separatist group. Television brought the unthinkable into living rooms all across the country.
Are the TV images a big part of your memories?
Yes. For me, it was the tanks, the military machine that we saw on television.
I was living in Toronto at the time, and our family, of course, is from Nova Scotia. The biggest concern that I had really was, would I get back to Nova Scotia? Because watching it on TV seemed like we were at war.
The images that I remember the most are gathering people
forced into the back
of a paddy wagon with their hands out. That was a real vivid image for me.
But it's more important to keep law and order in this society than to be worried about weak-kneed people who don't like the looks of a
at any cost? At any cost? How far would you go with that? How far would you extend that?
Oh, just watch me.
Is that confirmed, though? I mean, he's dead where? Dead where?
When the body was actually found, that was my JFK moment. That was my time where I said, they've not only kidnapped, they've not only protested in this manner, they've not only kidnapped, but they killed him.
Pierre Laporte, the Minister of Labour and Immigration, was found tonight in the trunk of a car near St. Hubert Airport on the South Shore opposite Montreal.
It wasn't a good time for our society.
The October crisis jolted the country into a soul-searching mission.
There's nowhere in the world that I would rather be than with you, my love.
As the public broadcaster, with a mandate to promote Canadian unity, the CBC marshaled its star lineup.
Then you'll smile, my
Anne Murray set that mandate to music.
For united we stand, divided we fall. And if our backs should ever be against the wall, we'll be together.
Gordon Vincent was our MC for Canadian culture.
The young lady over my shoulder is Margaret Atwood. The man behind me is W.O. Mitchell. Mordecai Richler. Robertson Davis.
General, what about the mere act of watching television? How does it affect your children?
I got addicted myself to it a couple of years ago.
Anna Gartner explored our feelings,
Like it was very
while Adrienne Clarkson
Imagine you're a sexually desirable young woman.
kept breaking barriers for minorities and women.
And here are some of the reasons why the shawl won't be pushed around. Now, does the pet rock bring back the stick?
No, but it won't come back without it either. My mind where to start. It's like a Greek banquet.
Bruno Gerussi showcased multiculturalism and British Columbia.
If we really don't know who we are, that's a serious problem. Right, John? I'm Frank.
Once again, Wayne and Schuster proved laughter was still the best medicine.
For united we stand, divided we fall. And if our backs should ever be against the wall,
Pierre Burton guided us into the future by showing us our past.
So the little locomotive rattled over the newly laid rail, and over the last spike, and down the long incline of the mountains.
CBC made his best-selling popular histories, The National Dream and The Last Spike, into television.
Huh? Missed.
Since the present was in turmoil, the CBC produced many other programs that tried to root us with our history, like the drama of Louis Riel.
This land is all going to Canada, and all of you will be looked after.
Maybe we shouldn't.
Get the hell off that chain!
When it went to air, the debate over minority rights in Canada was heating up. The story of a Métis leader who stood up for his people fit right in. Christopher Plummer played Sir John A. Macdonald, the Prime Minister who eventually has Louis Riel tried and hanged for treason.
It is a difficult case in which to establish a charge. The French look on him as one of them. With an election coming, it could alienate Quebec.
You think I don't realize that? And if he goes free, it'll alienate the English. Either way, I tear the country apart. Why must every issue, federal, provincial, large, small, become a test of the very identity of this country, for God's sake?
But all this musing over history was also great material for laughs.
Tonight's adventure, Kung Fu and the National Dream.
May I be of some assistance? Oh, no, thank you. I don't need that. Let's get one for the photographers.
Wayne and Schuster always knew Canadians need to laugh at themselves.
How'd you like to join me for dinner tonight? Dinner with the Prime Minister of Canada. Yes, thank you. We'll see at 6. 6 o'clock. Oh. Hey, Kwai Chang, we're going to have a big party tonight. We want you to join us. I'm sorry, I have a previous engagement. Oh, where are you off to? I've been asked by Sir John A. So I'm on my way today to McDonald's.
But nobody at the CBC was laughing about the new competition in the 1970s. Because in the 1970s, American shows flooded over the border. With all the new choices on cable, it was rather overwhelming.
Would I miss Canadian television? No, not really. They have a lot of funny shows like Welcome Back Kotter and Carol Burnett and Monty Python and things like that. If you notice, what she's saying is all the Canadian shows she likes are all American, bought from, like Carol Burnett, it's done in the States. Welcome Back Kotter, that's an American show.
In the 1970s, Canadian shows like this one, featuring the disco group The Rays, were indistinguishable from their American counterparts. American popular culture was more seductive than ever, which meant for the Canadian public broadcaster, figuring out what would bring in the viewers was a tougher call than ever.
Cucaracha, running up and down the house.
There were a few safe bets.
Cucaracha, white as any little mouse.
Almost every kid in Canada was still growing up on Friendly.
Ole!
Very good.
Hey. Oh, not again. That's a big, heavy sigh. Big, heavy sigh time.
It's an international story. 2 minutes to track the story down.
Front Page Challenge still got the best guests.
The international story, did some part of this international story happen in Canada?
Nay.
It did not?
Nay.
Yes.
The part that happened in Canada, did it happen in our national capital, Ottawa?
Does this have anything to do with Canada's recognition of China?
Ja.
And are you the Canadian Prime Minister who brought that recognition about?
Ja.
Now Cornwall coming in. Cornwall shoots. That was probably...
And hockey on TV, whether you were young or old or French or English, was still a national ritual.
Back to Lafleur, ready for the score!
In fact, for much of the 1970s, Hockey Night in Canada was the most watched show on the network.
Trying to set it up to Robinson. Robinson waits. Canadians getting set. Here comes the set. Score! It's over. Larry Robinson. A little clean shot. The league season is over. The Canadians win it at 4:14 of overtime with Williams.
But the problem was what to do when the old standbys weren't on.
I'll go to bed with you. But I'm damned if I'll marry you.
The CBC created a British-styled series called The White Oaks of Jalna. It was supposed to attract lots of viewers and sell all over the world.
What is going on here? What is he doing to you, Dilly? Nothing.
And that, Aunt Augusta, is part of the problem.
Nothing? Do you mean to say such a scene can be made out of nothing?
Well, not actually nothing. Jalna cost a fair amount of cash to make, and it wasn't much of a hit in Canada or almost any place else. But they did like it in Norway.
Well, I shall remain here until I hear both your doors locked from the inside. Good night.
This is CBC.
The drama department tried American-style cop shows, like Side Street. But there was a code of non-violence on the show. Instead of using guns, they tried to solve crimes by talking.
Come on in.
You reported a problem, ma'am?
Me? When?
It was me, officer. I'm the one who called.
For God's sake, Alice, I told you.
But without those American-style shootouts and high-speed chases,
The bathroom.
It's always the bathroom.
Side Street never really caught on like Starsky and Hutch or Charlie's Angels.
Yeah, I know. One crime at a time. Just hold your breath for a couple of minutes.
They even hired an American and gave him his own variety show.
Oh, yeah, well, at least they offered to pay me what I'm worth.
Well, then you better stay on my show.
By the way, the jackass was Canadian.
Because you can't afford to work that cheap, that's why.
Here he throws to an American one-hit wonder, singing the theme from Laverne and Shirley, an American sitcom.
Miss Cindy Greco.
We're gonna make it. Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true. Doing it our way.
The CBC was clearly having an identity crisis.
On the track now. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
On 90 Minutes Live with Peter Zosky.
And then there was this. CBC television tried to take back the night from Johnny Carson.
Now, Iggy Pop, the incredible punk rock star.
Listen, tell me seriously, I have never seen you perform, but I've read reviews about vomiting on the stage, about sticking pencils in your flesh, about bleeding lips, and about all those things. I want to know the purpose behind that.
The purpose or the reason?
The purpose or the reason?
I vomited. I was ill. I'm not sorry I was ill. Everyone gets ill sometimes. And I was ill one evening, and as I felt that I was going to vomit anyway, I decided I may as well do it with some style. So I did it something like this.
Actually, the Prime Minister of Canada...
I've never stuck a pencil in my flesh.
Is that right?
These come mostly from my fingernails.
But you do mutilate and scratch yourself, do you? On the stage? These are innocent questions. I have not seen you perform. I've just read a great deal about you. And I want to know why.
I'm ready. Okay, we need a little beat. Come on, fellas. All right. Come on, you need to people over there. Come on.
Here, Peter Zosky is breaking out of his old radio host mold. And here he's sharing with his old friends Pierre Burton and David Steinberg.
You have to be very fast.
No, you see, that's what you shouldn't do. That's a good. Is there a doctor in the house?
I think we should go back and take a look at that.
No, it's all right. Don't worry about it.
I'm not worried
Listen,
about
the show must go on. You've heard about that? That's just a little blood. Don't worry about things like that.
I think it is.
Do you want to see this scallop potato or don't you?
I think I'll pass on eating those potatoes, man.
Okay, we'll cover that
Pierre
up.
Burton was taken to hospital after the show, and not much after, Peter Zosky got to go back to radio. Canadians, it seemed, preferred the real Johnny Carson.
Be right back in 2 minutes.
What can you say you like about Canadian television?
It's Canadian.
Canadian Canada.
Oh, you know,
Canadian.
that rocks. I watch the same as she watches. We're married.
No, he watches what he likes. I watch all the Canadian shows.
Is there anything you don't like about Canadian television?
We love it.
Well, you're next.
You can tell something's Canadian.
Yeah, okay. Now, how do you tell something's Canadian when you're flicking around the dial and you stop?
It's got more, it has an original humor about it. The diction is different.
How do you know it's Canadian?
Because they only have 5 actors.
Right.
For every show.
Right. Are you going to hear Bastard at least once?
Oh, yes, we're...
And the shows, whenever they get start to be popular, they cut it off. Because they think there's not enough viewers. Yeah.
Now, how do we make Canadian television more popular?
Put it on the more popular television. Yeah, we got to get a Canadian show on Fox. Or ABC. If they put everything on in the Canadian shows, we'd have it made. I'd watch CBC every day. It was all this man show.
On TV, when it came to Canadian nationalism, it didn't get any more hardcore than this.
Another two-man race
break. Mihailov coming in. Pass back to Petrov. And a great save there on a three-way pass.
In 1972, Canada and Russia were playing a special Summit hockey series. It was a tie going into the 8th and final game, and everyone, hockey fan or not, was glued to the CBC broadcast.
Holy gee. Oh, come on. Don't let him get in that way. Oh, God.
Deflected it into the net. Gadron deflected that one. You know, here's Gordon Wyatt coming in with a shot. Here, went loose. Another chance.
With only 34 seconds left in the game, the sound of Paul Henderson's shot rippled across the land.
Has it on that wing. Here's a shot. Henderson made a wild snap for it and fell. Here's another shot. Right in front of the score!
It was the greatest moment of national pride since Echo 67. And after the October crisis, it was a great feeling.
It really doesn't matter where you were when all the world began, or when underneath the apple tree the devil tempted man. There was a motion on the ocean when old Noah called the roll. But you should have been in Canada when Henderson scored the goal. Oceans had the edge, the final game with seconds left to play.
And the score was tied at 5-5. Your history books will say.
When Esposito passed to Henderson, the bells began to toll. Oh, you should have been in Canada when Henderson scored the goal.
We've never really gotten over that moment.
1, 2, 3.
Go Canada, go! Go Canada, go!
Okay, so 1972, you were...
I was 14.
Okay, so the final game. Do you remember where you were?
Oh, absolutely. I was at school. And it was a very big deal because they let us out of class to watch the game on those TVs on the 6-foot stand. And that was the first time I had ever watched a hockey game on TV with a crowd of friends. So that was really cool.
Okay, so can you reenact it? Are your skills such? Because you have the trophies, right? To
That's
prove
true.
It. So if any man in North America can reenact the moment.
All right, well, there's a challenge I can't turn down.
I'm Tretiak.
Tretiak is...
In goal.
There you go.
Doing triple lutzes.
That's right.
There we go.
The puck goes to Henderson in front.
I'm the sad Russian.
But defining ourselves by hockey would not be enough to keep us together in the 1970s.
From Montreal, CBC News brings you live coverage of the Quebec provincial election. Here's Don McNeil.
The polls in Quebec have been closed for more than an hour, and the returns that are coming in now show that this could be one of the most important provincial elections in Canadian history.
This is an incredible show of excitement out here. People are embracing each other. People are flying. They're just announcing now that we called a PQ majority government.
When CBC Radio Canada announced the PQ victory, it hit hard because this was no marginal group. By democratic vote, the people of Quebec said loud and clear they wanted something else.
Do you not really think that you have underestimated the danger to all, not only Quebec, but to other provinces, if you break Confederation, the danger of assimilation into the United States?
You go back to the panic propaganda about
This is the English fear.
Look, if it's the English fear, along with Time Magazine, Reader's Digest, what you get on your television and everything else, you're an excuse for a country. If Quebec is required, or some other more or less foreign body is required to keep Canada together and Canadians with an identity, then they don't have an identity.
René Lévesque wasn't the only one asking that question. In the West, some people were saying that they should go off and join the United States. Something had to be done. But what? Enter Gordon Pinsent. His job, help us find ourselves.
We're in the midst of a troubled cultural revolution, one that may affect our ability to survive as a nation. So stick around. We're going hunting.
And so they hunted. In galleries, studios, theaters, classrooms, and shopping malls. They talked to artists, authors, musicians, and filmmakers, critics, and intellectuals. But when it came down to defining our cultural identity,
As a theater manager,
poor old Gordon Pinsent was left with no conclusions.
In past weeks, this series, The Great Canadian Culture Hunt, has been a search into who we are, what we are, and where we want to go. This is Gordon Pinsent saying good night, with regret for the uncertain end of our search, but with best wishes to us all as the series ends, but the hunt, because its life goes on. Life goes on. Life goes on. Life.
Gordon
goes
Pinsent
on.
could have just
Life
talked to
goes
Wayne
on.
and Schuster.
To help us all know who we are, here's a simple musical questionnaire for all of you confused Canadians. Way out there. Whalen and Laskin and Jules Leger, Eatons and Simpsons and Hudson Bay, Flin Flon and Moose Jaw and Medicine Hat, the Expo, the Blue Jay, the Tiger Cat, Bennett and Lougheed and Yusuf Karsh, the Blue Nose, the Bricklin and Judy LaMarche, the Canada Goose and the Maple Leaf, the Beaver, the Otter, and good old Beef. Who knows the pleasures of shoveling snow? And who knows who's running against Trudeau? Who knows who hammered the golden spike? And who needs a national postal strike? It's perfectly clear if you're Canadian, there's no need to ask. The answer doesn't change from English band to fast. You passed with flying colors this Canadian win, and now you all know what a Canadian. You surely should know what a Canadian. And you all know what a
Canadian. Wayne and Schuster may have also understood a lot of people didn't want to talk about the Canadian identity anymore.
Psychiatrists call it narcissism, and it just could be the sickness of the 70s. I'm Roy Bonesteel. Welcome to the Me Decade.
After all the great political and social debates of the 60s, a lot of people were turning inward. The focus was personal identity, not the country's. For a program like Roy Bonesteel's Man Alive that examined questions of faith, it was all rather disturbing.
Like we go out and we do what we want and we don't care about other people think.
I think developing your inner self should be one of your main values in life.
No, I don't need anybody. Nobody.
And now in the 70s, inner fulfillment, freedom to express oneself, to choose one's own lifestyle, are all part of our expectations. Perhaps without realizing it, our values have shifted. We've become more self-oriented. Up to a certain point, that's a good thing. Beyond that point, we're heading for a fall.
This is Hannah Gartner. This is Stanley. She goes jogging with her every morning.
But as always, there was a program for everyone. And on Take 30, the afternoon talk show, Hannah Gartner's job was to keep us healthy and hip in the Me Decade.
California has been the spawning ground of all manner of fads. The latest one being the hot tub craze. And I just happen to have one with me. Excuse me. Hello, I'm Hannah. I couldn't help noticing your jacket.
Yes, sir.
I assume you belong to a motorcycling fraternity.
That's right.
What'd you have for lunch today? Whatever it was, I hope it was low in calories, carbohydrates, and cholesterol.
And you know, sugar, ladies and gentlemen, is the devil. And white flour also. And fat. Those are the three things I urge my students to go easy on.
But talk about changing food, you talk about exercising. You know what I think is the hardest thing for people?
What?
Change. Industrial earplugs My initiation into punk rock was a 5-hour, ear-splitting ordeal with 3 Canadian punk rock groups. I have been listening to you this evening and to the vile tones. And if I may be honest, the only thing I got out of it was a headache. Yeah.
Oh, dear. That's bad.
What is it?
On the other hand,
Lord salvage! You lose them, we bring them back! Ha!
you could always tune in to some much more pleasant people on the CBC. On the Beachcombers, Bruno Teruzzi was a really nice guy who lived in a really nice place with really nice friends. Well, except for Relic, of course.
Hey! Hey, you big-faced old goat!
He was there. He heard me in the cafe.
Maniac!
For a lot of viewers, this was the CBC in the 1970s. It was also most definitely and unforgettably Canadian. The Beachcombers started in 1972 and stayed on the air for 19 years.
Get along ears eating that stuff.
It played in over 40 countries around the world.
The ketchup's on the house.
Oh, no freebies. And coffee, and.
Relic, you can't eat food in here that you didn't buy in here.
What about the ketchup? Ketchup's all over the food.
Whose boat did you like better when you were a kid?
I liked Nick's boat better.
Nick's boat.
Relic. Rick Relic had the fastest boat.
Nick.
Nick?
Good. Relic was dirty.
He was dirty, yeah. Well, it depends on what you want. You know, if you want to haul logs or race, I guess. Relic had a pretty hot boat.
You're looking at Relic, for God's sake. Who do you think?
What about you? Who had the better boat?
Well, I picked Relic. Since I'm living with him, I guess I figured he had the better boat.
Relic's boat was better.
Because it was a faster boat.
Yes.
But he was a skeet.
He was like a skeet in a fast car, whereas Nick was a solid guy in a solid car.
So I need Nick in Relic's boat.
Well, I kind of liked it because the people were decent, but they weren't boring. You know, they were decent living people, but, well, except for Relic.
Who you married?
Let's not go there.
Okay.
Good stories about decent people. What could be more Canadian than that?
We'll do a show about the thorny contemporary issues of Canadian life. Hey, the ratings will be terrific, right? What about All in the Family? Is that a great show?
Do you remember La Famille Plouffe?
On the Let's Save Canada hour, this spoof seemed to have it all.
I got an idea. Let's say we'll have an English family, but they have a French son-in-law. And they won't let him speak French in the house.
Not bad.
So he wants a separation. He said the word. He said the word. And we can call it La Famille Poof.
Remember when the Cassie King never seemed to have a fling? Asked his mother everything. Those were the days.
I leave because there's 8 in this house.
Oh no, there's only 5, counting the baby.
You can't lock out a little Rennie.
His name is René.
What are you talking about? He's named after her Scotch grandfather.
He's named after his uncle René.
He's named after both of them.
That was the agreement. René.
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 René. René.
René.
René.
Yes?
You're still doing it!
We're still doing what?
Ignoring the role of women. I've been watching this show, and it's been 99% about men. What about us?
We were just coming to that. That's right. What I was about to say was that no study of heroes would be complete without a tribute to women's lib.
One order of women's lib coming right up.
I am woman, hear me roar, in numbers too big to ignore, and I know too much to go back and pretend.
As the 70s went on, it became clearer that in order to survive, the CBC had to take new risks as the public broadcaster. So when it came to women's lib, CBC stepped up to the plate.
Hello, I'm Maxine Samuels, welcoming you to the premiere of a new series created and produced for the first time on national television by women.
Why do women still get paid less for doing the same job as a man? Or, why do some women spend an hour on public transit with their children each day because the only daycare center is across town?
At CBC News, Jan Tennant was made the first national female news anchor.
The National with Jan
Although
Tennant.
only on the weekends.
Good evening. China invades Vietnam. There are fears that the Soviet Union may intervene.
Welcome, please, the founder of the Women's Liberation Movement, Betty Friedan.
Across the network, programs hammered away at the debate.
Is there not now a kind of serious backlash against your type of women's lib? And don't you...
Well, don't say my type of women's lib, because women's lib, the way you're saying it, creates an image, that man-hating image that does a disservice to the totality of women's movement.
You've got to admit it was sold as a man-hating thing in the beginning, perhaps by people other than yourself.
You can bend but never break me, cause it only serves to make...
Sometimes we could just celebrate the new order.
It's a cinch to have an orgasm. I can give an orgasm to the cat. It's really fairly trivial. But one of these days we'll get the orgasms out of the way.
And my
Most important in the good secretary is her willingness to contribute worthwhile ideas and suggestions to her boss without any desire to take credit for them herself. Yes.
I am strong. I am invincible. I am a woman.
It would never again be the same between men and women. Well, almost never.
Well, who controls the remote control in your house?
Oh, of course, myself.
You do. And you,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Do you have wives or girlfriends or anything?
Yes.
Do you let them hold the remote control?
Well, when we're gone, we're gone.
Do you ever let your son or lovely wife here use the remote?
Not my wife, but my lovely son once in a while.
It's a guy thing.
Do you think it's a guy thing? Oh, it is a guy.
Yeah, it has to be.
It's all a timing thing
Yeah.
to see if they can time it so that they don't have to watch any commercials.
When I walk out, I set it in a certain spot, and they're free to have it till we get back. Absolutely. Yeah, I put dead batteries in it. She says there's something wrong with it, and I just tell her I'll fix it.
Does it have any irritating remote control habits?
Yeah. You just start watching something and it flips to something else and it flips to something else and flips to something else.
And that's why they invented the remote control.
Except last night, we had a fight about it. I grabbed it and I wouldn't give it to him. I just know that these things make him happy, so what the heck?
Well, she has the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, she has the kitchen, and we never bother her about that.
Yeah. You know this will be on television.
Let her come.
No, I think I've become rebellious about it now. I
Right.
think I've wisened up and just said, forget it. I have just as much right to that remote control as you. And I can play this little game as well, too, just as well as you can.
You go, girl. You go, girl.
In the late 1970s, society was changing in many more ways, and the CBC took other risks as the public broadcaster. A series called Peep Show searched the country for edgy, dramatic material to put on television.
It's a little messed up. I usually don't bring anybody up here.
This production featured Saul Rubinek and Martin Short in their very first lead roles on television.
It's scotch, all right. I've only got scotch. Who gives a shit? It's booze, right? Right. You can just sit down where
Whatever you like. Is that it in there?
What, the bathroom?
No, the bedroom.
No, it's the bathroom.
Oh, so that's a bit. Yes.
Why don't you sit down over there?
Well, what do you want me to do?
What? You've done it more than I have. What do you want me to do?
What?
What do you want me to do?
I don't want nothing. I told you.
What about the $10?
You got it,
I
ain't you?
got it.
So?
So, what?
What do you want me to do?
I don't know.
Well, what did you want? What did you want before? When you asked me up here in the first place, what did you want then?
I don't know.
Did you want to do something to me? You want me to do something to you? Huh? Could you speak a little louder?
I don't know. I don't know. God damn it.
Well, you've done it before. God damn it. It's not like you never done it before. What the hell did you do last Easter?
I did what he wanted me to do.
Who? Not a hustler. You didn't do it with a hustler last Easter. He was no hustler, was he?
No.
That's for damn sure.
Drama also created For the Record, a series based on issues in the news.
Don't say it. Don't say it. I know I would throw myself in a volcano to atone.
What would you like to hear? Vivaldi, concert piano? I know.
I have got something for you.
It was shockingly bold. This episode, called A Matter of Choice, brought the horror of rape right out in the open. Staking out new turf as a relevant public broadcaster also meant beefing up the journalism.
The Fifth Estate.
Good evening. I'm Adrienne Clarkson. Tonight, the story of an empire founded on the lowly potato. There's a quote about your potato contract. Somebody said that it's a contract written for dishonest people. And that's...
No, it's not dishonest. The farmers sincerely aren't dishonest, and you shouldn't repeat that.
We quote from the National Film Board interview with Wallace McCain. The contract is written for dishonest people.
Good evening, I'm Eric Malling. Today, the United Nations Sanctions Committee asked for our Fifth Estate file on Rhodesian tobacco smuggling. A member of the UN Secretariat said that at first glance, it's probably the most detailed report he'd ever received.
When they saw the camera, one of them came out and attacked it.
Look it. Don't come taking any films around here.
What are you doing?
You understand?
Does torture happen in Iran?
I don't have to answer that. But for the sake of this interview, I will say that we don't have to torture people.
It was the era of Woodward and Bernstein's Crusader journalism.
And when our cameraman, John Griffin, tried to photograph him, he attacked Griffin with a small hammer.
And the Fifth Estate, premiering in 1975, is still Canada's pit bull against corruption and scandal.
It was a strange reaction to a simple and polite request.
But at the back entrance, Pierre McSween and his men were waiting to kill the Dubois.
This was another big risk-taker. The series Connections was a special guerrilla investigation. The documentaries made no bones about showing the power and the reach of organized crime in Canada.
I was there for about 5 or 6, and
You yourself were there for about 5 or 6 murders.
Yeah.
These scenes, filmed with a special night lens, show Roland and Norman Dubois in the taverns they control in the Saint-Henri section. While further north in the central area of Montreal, Claude Dubois leaves the tavern from which he operates every night. Because of their violence, they are now virtually unchallenged in many areas of Montreal's criminal life.
CBC took on consumer ripoff and fraud, too.
But here's another kind that's also on the road. It's called a multi-piece or split rim. Ben Kelly has filmed tests to demonstrate split rim separations.
The show Marketplace also went on the air in the 1970s.
Side of the road. This is quite typical. Takes the tire off the truck, repairs it, is pumping it up. And under the pressure of the air, this thing blows up and literally lifts him 10 feet in the air. although he weighs 215 pounds and flings him like a rag doll under the truck. It's as if you'd stepped on a landmine.
After the ban on the 1.5-liter bottles, you might have presumed that the sizes left on the market are safe. It's not true.
10 out of 10 in our testing. The 1 liter, the same thing. 750 milliliter Coke.
But it was the 70s after all, and not everything had to be about conspiracies and untold threats to humanity.
If the CBC could come up with a variety show that could satisfy everyone in our house, we'd watch it for sure.
So the CBC made Renée Simard, Quebec's top recording star, the national heartthrob.
Finally upholstered seat. And talk about acceleration. From ballad to full hustle in seconds flat. And how about these options? Available in disco or standard. Power cheering. Dual radial feet that can really move with 4 on the floor. And the economical 79 Simard runs on cheeseburgers and shakes, both at home and on the road. The 79 Simard.
But national unity stayed the #1 story in the 1970s. CBC nature programs like The Nature of Things and This Land were the best possible advertisement for national pride.
In the Arctic, bitter winds sweep vistas of harsh beauty.
Except now, they were in color.
This is the home of the North's magnificent hunter, the polar bear. The mother keeps the cubs warm with her own body. During these rest stops, the little bears may sleep right on top of her. Occasionally, she will even let one of them ride on her back, sometimes for considerable distances.
And in January, no place on earth could be more enticing than the western country of the big mammals. Cervus canadensis, more commonly known as elk, or the more satisfying and correct Indian name, wapiti. In deep winter, they come down into the valleys, closer to the grasslands and the low-hanging branches of the trees.
Ellesmere Island, called Ellesmere Land by the Norse, who came here mapping a century ago. 2,500 miles due north of Ottawa. 1,500 miles north of the tree line. 1,000 miles north of the mainland Arctic coast. The uttermost island of high Arctic.
But Canada's vastness was also a problem. The CBC was supposed to link the entire country, but until 1978, the full CBC service was only available in the south.
Stand by on red. Wait to red. Here we go to red. Here's the replay. Stand by.
That year, a satellite relay network was finished, and the promise to link all of Canada, made in the 50s, was finally kept. Back in Toronto, the aromatic streets of Kensington Market were the perfect backdrop for a story that would live on for years.
Do you think it'd be a good idea to do a TV show based in Kensington Market?
I think so, because a lot of people don't know this place exists.
When he walks down the street, he smiles at everyone.
The King of Kensington celebrated that Canada was a cultural mosaic and not a melting pot. We could finally get beyond talking about Quebec.
His wife says helping other people brings him luck.
Larry King, Al Waxman's alter ego, is Jewish. His wife isn't. His mother is, well, she's a Jewish mother. His best friends are from Italy and Jamaica.
Hey, that's great. No longer will owning a racehorse be restricted to the privileged few. Horsepower to the people.
The show hit a nerve.
Barsky! Hey, Butcher! Hey, Barsky, will you put your cleaver down? Come on out here.
How you doing, fella?
Mr. Barsky. Mr. Barsky, sir, how would you like to buy a piece of a horse?
What are you two trying to do? Ruin me? Don't you know that the health inspector's snooping around, huh?
Yeah, I heard.
And you remember the trouble I got in a couple of months ago for selling that bad batch of horse meat?
We're talking about a live racehorse.
Yup. Please.
One that walks, Mr. Barsky. One, hopefully, people runs.
No deal. But if you should break a leg, maybe we could talk a little turkey.
I've just been told that the Honorable Robert Andrews, Minister of Manpower and Immigration, is on the line.
Come on, Pat, let him have it. Go ahead.
There must be some mistake. This is Larry King. I'm a second-generation Polish-Jewish Canadian.
Lou, it's a boy on the radio.
I go on record as saying that I, for one, am 100% in favor of an open-door Canadian immigration policy.
And Louie's saying terrible things.
My father came down the Plant in Halifax in 1931. He didn't have $5 in his pocket.
He loaned it to somebody on the boat.
Canada's economic, social, and cultural development has been shaped by immigration. And I, for one, am proud to have had parents with immigrant parents, with the foresight and the common sense to come to Canada.
He's King of Kensington. What a guy.
Now, do you know who the King of Kensington is?
Yeah.
Who? Does anyone know do you know the King of Kensington theme song?
My girlfriends won't let me sing, so you wouldn't want me to sing it anyway.
Da 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 da. I feel like Buddy and the Godfather, remember?
When he walks down the street, he smiles at everyone.
Do you know who the King of Kensington is?
Sure, Al Waxman.
I like the fact that it represented people from my whole place, like where I'm from.
I watched him. So bad he died. He was a great guy.
No, he's the King of Kensington.
And do you know that he used to hang out in this area after?
He would?
Yeah, he would eat around
On
the corner
Saturday.
every Saturday with his friends at the Bagel.
Okay.
Not on the TV
I
show,
didn't know
in
that.
real life.
No, right until the
until
end.
he died.
And would you see him over there?
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
What would he be doing?
Eating breakfast.
Eating.
And if you guys run into Al Waxman from the clouds or wherever, you tell him Jungle Boy says, hello, straight from Kensington, man. Straight up.
Thank you very much, people.
It's been the CBC.
So that was the 1970s.
This is North America's latest fad.
Because I'm afraid of hot sauce.
Well, I got a sauce. It's called Dimples. It's mellow like Jello, and it's guaranteed to please this fellow. Grab a chip. You'll be happy. You'll be smiling.
Okay.
Straight up. This is called Dimples.
That's really good.
I'm telling you. John Wayne himself is right in the bottle. Just kidding.
Tomorrow we move forward with